Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the crypto world, mindset, and building real, lasting wealth. Today, I want to talk to you about something that has changed my life and could change yours. It's the magic of patience and delayed gratification. Imagine this: you invest in something you truly believe in, hold tight through the storms, and watch it transform your future. We're talking about XRP today, the digital asset powering Ripple global payment revolution and changing the financial infrastructure as we know it. But this isn't just about numbers. It's about philosophy. What you know shapes how you hold, and that determines what you do. In this video, we're going to break down some eye-opening investment scenarios, discuss Ripple's powerhouse institutional ties, and share a timeless analogy that will fire you up and keep you and help you stay the course. If you're tired of the get-rich-quick schemes and just ready for sustained wealth, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and let's just get into it. Let's start with the facts. Let's make this thing as real, as possible. As we're looking at the markets right now, XRP sitting at about 305 at the time of making this video. Now, picture this. I like visual presentations. I like to see things. I like to keep things realistic. Let's just say you have 1,000 XRP. Right now, that's sitting at about, $3,000 worth of XRP. But if you hold patiently, let's walk through that timeline and let's see what it does in 5 years. And these aren't dramatic numbers. These are realistic numbers. But as you're holding, you can see here on this chart, if you hold patiently, year one, it gets to $30, which could be this year going into 2026. Year two, $50, $75 by year three, $100 by year four, and in 5 years, $150. And bam, there you have it. You have $150,000 there, a profit of $146,000 from today's numbers. Now, you want to get a little more dramatic? Let's just say you have 20,000 XRP. The scenario holds the same. Year one, $30 yields you $600,000. And at the end of 5 years, the point of this is holding on patiently and allowing the utility of all these markets to come in and flood and be utilized with XRP and Ripple and transform that financial infrastructure that we have been talking about, a value of, $3 million at the end of that time. That is a chunk of change, all for holding. These are not wild guesses. These are projections based on XRP's real utility in global finance. Maybe, this isn't the hype of it's going to be $1,000 tomorrow and you're going to be an instantaneous quadrillionaire. That's just not my style. Can it get there? Absolutely. In time, anything is absolutely possible, but I like to try to stay and paint a picture of reality and show you just long-term holding of what the possibilities are. But here is the key. Most people are absolutely going to sell too early. Why? Because they're chasing quick wins, or they try to flip into that next hype and try to jump into that next thing that they see out there that everyone is hyping up. But you're building an empire through patience, just like the legends, many in the stock market who have held for years and years. It is no different in this market. Can it happen a lot faster and accelerate? Absolutely. And we're seeing that acceleration. But look, let's get philosophical for a minute, because wealth is not just about math. It's really about mindset. Your philosophy is absolutely everything. What you know is the foundation. Do you understand Ripple and XRP? Have you studied it? Have you looked at the white papers? Have you looked at where Ripple is going in the partnerships? Not as hype, but as a bridge to the future of money in this ever-changing modernization of the financial infrastructure. You know, Ripple is not just some fly-by-night company. It's battle-tested, a battle-tested company revolutionizing cross-border payments for the world's largest players. And by battle-tested, you know what I mean. SEC hammering them for the last 4.5 years, and we're finally past that phase. But how you hold, you know, is how you hold and what you know. That's what the conviction is. That's the point to the discussion here. You know, when the market dips, which we see now and again, do you panic sell or do you grip a little harder because you understand the vision and you know exactly what you hold and where it is going in the future? You know, and the how, it affects absolutely what you do. That's the action. You have to put action behind everything. Knowing XRP's potential means you buy, you hold, and you ignore all the noise out there. That's the point to these videos, to present to you the longer future. You know, delayed gratification today for abundance tomorrow. This is absolutely not theory. It's been lived truth by many. In crypto, just like the stock market, the patient ones are the ones that win big, but you have to hold strong. You need to know why XRP is primed for explosion. Let's dive into that a little bit and talk about Ripple's institutional muscles. You know, the kind of partnerships that scream real world utility and the real deal. You know, Ripple isn't operating in a vacuum out there. It's woven into the fabric of global finance, and it's becoming more and more woven day by day. With over 300 financial institutions on RippleNet, you know, they're handling financial transactions with the capability to handle millions and millions, if not trillions. First, banks. We've gone over this. Ripple's partnerships read like, you know, the who's who of finance. We know who they have been partnered with. Santander, you know, for real-time international payments, demonstrating saving millions of dollars in fees. PNC Bank in the US, SBI in Japan. These giants, these financial giants, trust Ripple to move money faster and cheaper than Swift ever could. And that's why Swift is looking at integrating these technologies that we talk about. And we just saw Ripple expanded with BBVA, Spain's second largest bank. You know, BBVA is now using Ripple custody for institutional services to European retail clients, paving the way for broader XRP adoption under the EU's MiCA regulations. This is not pocket change. You know, BBVA, as we've explained, alone manages billions in assets. Now, the ECB and central banks, Ripple, playing a huge part with them. That is the big leagues with CBDCs. The European Central Bank launched its digital euro pilot in June of 2025, this year, selecting XRP as a key infrastructure alongside networks like, you know, White Network. Now, while this partnership and this pilot is not exclusive, this positions XRP as a neutral bridge for CBDCs and stablecoins. Ripple is also part of the ECB's innovation platform with 70 private sector partners testing tokenized assets and cross-border settlements. Globally, Ripple's consult over 20 central banks on CBDC pilots. It's all out there for you to research and look at, and that includes the Bank of England and others. understanding that are eyeing XRPs or XRP and Ripple for interoperability. Remember, it is not going to be one token wins them all, but Ripple is leading the charge and is that horse out in front, absolutely screaming success. And don't forget, the crown jewel of all of this, which we saw, is Ripple's acquisition, that $1.2 billion, I think it was, acquisition of Hidden Road. Absolutely a huge deal, one of the largest in crypto history. Hidden Road is a multi-asset prime broker clearing trades for hedge funds and institutions. But get this, remember the ties. We're putting these puzzles together. They're also, Hidden Road, that is a key netting partner with the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, which clears over $11 trillion in U.S. Treasury trades daily. You know, they are the backbone of the world's largest bond network. This acquisition just paints the bigger broad stroke in the picture of why patience is such a key. You know, these ties are absolutely are not accidents. They're proof of XRP and its institutional gold value. Banks, central banks like the ECB, and clearing giants like the DTCC, they're going to be betting on Ripple. You better believe that, and you have to understand that. If you know this, absolutely don't sell. Hold, position yourself, hold on to what you know, and let that utility come in and bring value to the chain. Let's drive this home. And this story is one of my favorites that stuck with me for a long time. You know, and many of you may have heard this story before, but let's talk about two frogs in a pot of cream. Okay, picture this: two frogs. They fall into a tall bucket filled with cream. There's absolutely no way out. And the first frog thrashes around for a bit and gets tired and gives up, sinking to the bottom. But that second frog, he keeps paddling, his legs churning through the thick cream, refusing to quit. Hours pass, exhaustion sets in, but he continues to persist through the storms. And then a miracle. All of that paddling turns into a cream of butter, so that he has a solid ground and he's able to jump out and free himself to victory and into a successful life. That is you with XRP. The cream is the market volatility, the doubts, the FOMO, the sellers chasing instant riches. Most give up too early, you know, sinking into regret years later. But the patient hold. You keep paddling, researching these partnerships, listening to content, ignoring the noise, holding with grit and determination. Eventually, your consistency creates that butter, that solid foundation of value from institutional adoption, from the world changing and using these technologies like XRP. And, you know, you're going to be able to jump out, not just surviving, but thriving with wealth that echoes for generations, quite possibly. You know, only a few folks are able to see this vision and hold on. The masses, most people out there, they want quick flips, but the wise, they're building legacies and they see that long vision. Which frog are you? You're going to be the one that quits, hop into the next greatest thing, out of one asset into the next asset? Or are you the one that's going to struggle into triumph and have a long-term hold and understand what you're invested in? You know, friends, sustained wealth absolutely isn't about luck. It's really about knowing the power of the future, knowing and understanding what your investment in XRP is. Again, nothing I say is financial advice, but I'm here for the long run. And you understanding Ripple's absolute unstoppable rise and what is going on and what is going to be happening over the course of the next several months and years into the future, holding absolutely firm with unshakable belief and doing the work of patience. You know, you can go from $1,000 to millions. We see BBVA and the banks and the ECB and what's going on there. We see Hidden Road. We see documentation from the DTCC. These are all foundational truths that should solidify in your mind where things are going in the future and why it's so important to be non-emotional. Embrace delayed gratification. Be the frog that paddles to it makes butter. You know, your future self absolutely is going to thank you. And someday we'll be spending all of our time on some of the most beautiful beaches of the world. You know, I hope this helps build some confidence for you and give you that long-minded vision. What's your XRP holding story? How many years? And if you're brand new, welcome to holding on long-term and understanding the asset that maybe you're just starting to educate yourself in. Put them in the comments. Don't tell me how much XRP you own, because I don't care and it's not my business and you shouldn't share that. But the stories of patience are what is of importance. You know, smash the likes, hit the subscribe. We'll be building more dreams out here and talking about other assets in this crypto space and exit plans and where the future's going to lead us, which is to a lot of fun. I appreciate absolutely everyone out there. Please be safe. Please be smart. And most importantly, keep that mindset on positive lock as we travel through this journey together. And until next time, Zip is out.